welcome to the Foggy Dew. This is Colin. Well, gang, here we are. 100 episodes of the Foggy Dew. I was trying to think of like a fun way to do this, and I just figured I'd do a regular show. Like I'd make note of it. It is a milestone, but I just want to make note of it and kind of just roll into a normal show. And I guess just to start off, I want to thank everyone that listens to the Foggy Dew. The support I get, the feedback we get, it keeps the tank full. It's not easy to do this. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've thought about just like, you know what, this is crazy. What am I doing? Because to be fair, doing a podcast was really never on my radar screen. I just feel like the last 10 years of life have been so wild. It's really been a ride since 2016. And I think you could really kind of like start at like an era in American politics with Trump coming down the escalator in 2016. You had Trump come down the escalator in 2016. You could fast forward to election night, November 3rd, 2020. I mean, that's really, I feel like when I woke up was election night. Counting stopped in the 4 states that mattered simultaneously. And people like Brett Baer on Fox News couldn't be bothered asking why that happened. It just was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. And I guess you take Trump coming down the escalator, election night 2020, you had COVID, the fighting of the science, the fighting of the masks, the school board wars. I mean, COVID was the biggest psychological test ever, I think, in human history. Whoever you were in COVID is who you are. It's just the most unbelievable experience, I think, for most people. And of course, it's a terrible thing, too. There were more Americans dead from COVID than World War II, and we barely talk about it. Just crazy events. And then you go from like COVID, 2020 election, and then you roll into the madness that was the 2024 election. I mean, I guess it's the election against the evil empire, where the people finally spoke. I think the people finally woke up. Elon Musk liberated X, real thought, real discourse started emerging. And you saw a broad coalition of people who were awake push back against the establishment and gained a beachhead. I think everything we've done since that point is fighting our way across Normandy. And that's really what it was. It's a psychological D-Day when we landed from Election Day. And here we are today. It's just so interesting. I talk about the founding of the country a lot on the show. And I mean, the founders swore their life, liberty, and sacred honor to each other. I don't think I'm doing anything that grandiose here. I'm just doing a podcast. And I was thinking about it when I was writing all this stuff for today. It's like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast. The founders picked up muskets. But I suppose we just wield whatever weapon is available that day in the fight for liberty. And I'm not equating what I did with the founders, but it's kind of the same thought process, right? Men don't pick up muskets anymore to storm the Bastille, right? We use our words. We use our thoughts. And I think that that's how we win ultimately, because facts are stubborn things. It's interesting. I was thinking, again, just trying to think of a nice way to commemorate 100 episodes. I saw this quote in the madness of 2024, and I thought I'd pass it along. It's something that I read in a newspaper or whatever, online or whatever, but it just jumped off the page to me because it encapsulated exactly how I feel. And this is an unattributed quote. So this was occurring on a college campus when they were trying to take the flags down, and there were college protesters that kind of went out and held the flag up. This was a girl. This was a girl that made this quote, and I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Quote, "I stood holding an American flag as they were taking it down. It was the most shocking thing I've ever seen in my life," she said. "I just felt so patriotic. I felt so proud of my country and proud of the Americans who are standing beside me, who are holding the flag with me, who are willing to stand out and protect it. And like, I would give my life to protect that flag. I would give my life to protect America in a heartbeat. And I was willing to do that day." That's exactly right. I think a lot of us are willing to stand out and protect it. And quite frankly, I would give my life to protect that flag. If I could give my life in a heartbeat to America, I would do it. So, because it's not about me, it's not about any of us, it's about the people behind us. And I wish I could bottle that sentiment. I really wish all young people were like that understand what America is, what that flag represents, that standing out and defending it is one of the most important things you'll ever do in your that might be the most important thing that girl ever does in her life, other than having children or whatever. It's the defiance against the establishment, the narrative. It's all of it. It's fighting back against the forces that seek to destroy. But again, bottle that attitude and sell it. Because look, I'm all in on America. America is my home. My father was in the armed services. This is what I was raised on. It's my kid's future. And all of that stuff, when you talk about, this is why I do the Foggy Dew. This is why my producer does it. Him and I do not agree politically on a lot of things. I think he's seeing the light with few things. But he'll even tell you he's more liberally oriented. And it's not about that. It's about the fact that we're long-term invested in this country. We're invested in our children. There's a way to figure these things out, and it's not through violence. So, but we got to understand each other. So anyway, I'll stop kind of going on about this, but I just wanted to make a note of it. 100 episodes. Sláinte, cheers. Love all you guys. So thank you for the support, and there's more to come on the Foggy Dew. So switching gears, and I am going to do switching gears. So I apologize to my friend who doesn't like it, but it's a good segue between these different thoughts. So switching gears, there was really an avalanche of news in the last few days. And the timing of it to me is very, very interesting. Here you have over the weekend the third assassination attempt on Trump. And I guess looking at it, that third assassination attempt maybe woke him up a little bit. Maybe it woke him up a little bit, or maybe it wasn't Trump. Maybe Pam Bondi was just terrible at her job. She was just totally languid. Was she controlled? She didn't do anything. Or did she? Or did she? I would urge you to think about Pam Bondi a little bit differently now that you're seeing this news break. Because I've talked to plenty of people that voted for Trump that wanted immediate accountability. The second that Trump would be inaugurated, all of a sudden, like the 82nd Airborne would swoop in, they would rappel in, arrest everybody. That's not how the law works. The process of law to obtain a prosecution, to do things correctly, law is slow and deliberate. And if you look at, go look back. I mean, if you look at the DOJ under Barr, Bill Barr, Merrick Garland, but under those two guys, the DOJ was a total joke. It was totally captured. The DOJ for what? The last 8-9 years? It was just a snake pit. It's a den of vipers. What I would argue to you, now looking at this, Pam Bondi cleaned it up. Pam Bondi purged it. She redirected assets. She built cases. If you want prosecutions to stick, they have to be airtight. You have to create a foundation. If you want to go through the process of arresting high-level people, it better be legit. And all I would do is urge you to look at what occurred with Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. Those are bogus people. It was bogus cases, bogus data, bootstrapped misdemeanors into felonies. But I guess the point is if you want serious change in this country, you don't just run out and arrest people. You change the DOJ. You correct the process of law. And I think that that's what Pam Bondi did. I think that's what she did. I think she cleared the floor. I think what she did is she went in there with a fire hose and blew the DOJ out, got all the vipers out, cleaned it up, redirected, and I think she primed the pump here. And I am sitting here defending Pam Bondi right now because, quite frankly, I wanted Matt Gaetz. I wanted Matt Gaetz. That was the first guy that Trump had nominated for the AG position. AG was always the most important cabinet pick for Trump. And when he said Matt Gaetz, I jumped up and down. I'm like, here we go. That guy is a total bulldog. And to be fair, look, maybe Matt Gaetz would have been more brash. But I think you have to sit here now looking at what's going on and just think about it, that Pam Bondi maybe cleared the stage for you. That she did the hard work and got all the grief about it. And I've said it before on the show, I think this idea that Donald Trump was not talking to Pam Bondi every day, I think it's kind of silly. It doesn't show an understanding of how the law works and how Donald Trump's mind works. Because to me, it was obvious that Donald Trump was talking to her every day. It wasn't like she was sitting out there going rogue and just doing whatever she wanted. He was calling her every day, like, where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? He was calling. Donald Trump pays attention to the details. He was all over it. I said it before, the AG was always the most important pick going into this administration. And I would think if you're looking at my assertion that maybe Pam Bondi wasn't the worst person that ever held the office, I think you're seeing some validity to that. And let me start going through this, because Todd Blanche is the acting AG now. Within 30 days of Todd Blanche coming into the AG position, he is absolutely tearing it up. And the only way that he could be tearing it up like this is by Pam Bondi priming it. And there was a bunch of stuff that dropped on Tuesday this week, and I'm going to go through some of these. So number one is the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I've not talked about this on the show, but the Southern Poverty Law Center, it's the SPLC. The SPLC was indicted last week for funding the KKK. That's number one. Number two, you had Anthony Fauci advisor charged over COVID. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. That's a big one. So that's another big one. Comey charged. That's three. Jim Comey was charged on Tuesday for threats against the president. Number four, Somali daycares raided in Minnesota. So you had four massive legal things going against this viper's nest of things that we've all been wanting accountability on. So Todd Blanche is off to a great start, and I'm going to get into all four of these. And the thing you got to think about with these four things, think about all of this of the context of the Florida grand jury. That Florida grand jury thing is the grand criminal conspiracy case that is still rolling in the state of Florida. And before I start any of this, remember what Kash Patel said the other day. These guys are not just talk, they talk, right? You have to listen to what they're saying. Kash Patel came out on Fox News, and what did he do? He promised that arrests were coming. And again, I'm waiting to see it. I'm as skeptical maybe as a lot of people, but I was also willing to give this time. I said there's a lot to unpack on each one. And I mentioned it before. I'm going to start with the SPLC. I didn't talk about it last week because it's a little bit complicated. So I thought about the best way to talk about this, but the SPLC is a total disgrace. The SPLC was one of the main levers of woke and DEI. What this organization was a pack of liberal attack dogs. What they would do is they would look at any situation that came up in the news and cry racism. And the stated goal, to be clear, of the SPLC was to break racism. It was to eradicate it, to dismantle extremism, to dismantle the patriarchy. I said attack dog. That's probably the best way to think about it. They are a Democrat, liberal attack dog legally. They're an attack dog for DEI, attack dog for woke. They're activist lawyers who sued everyone and said they were racist. So again, this is the tip of the spear for DEI woke legal attacks on normal people. Well, guess what happened? Todd Blanche and the DOJ found that the SPLC was doing bad things. What a shock. What was the SPLC doing? Wire fraud, false statements, conspiracy to money launder. So what exactly happened with the SPLC? Again, Southern Poverty Law Center. What the SPLC did is they sent money to bad people. So SPLC goes out to the donor class and gets money coming in. They said, hey, we're going to go fight extremism. We're going to go after the racists. We're going to go attack these bad people, right? Guess what they did instead? The SPLC sent $3 million to the KKK, to the American Nazi Party, to the Aryan Nation, the Clans of America, and this is my favorite. I never heard of this one. Sadistic Souls Motor Club. It goes on and on. They were funneling money to racist groups. So what they did is the SPLC opened bogus bank accounts, and then they funneled this donor money to the same racists that they vowed to break. In layman's terms, what the SPLC was doing was they were funding their own targets. I mean, like in Looney Tunes parlance, that would be like the coyote giving the roadrunner running shoes. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. This should infuriate absolutely every single American out there. There is so much racial nonsense that we dealt with as a country. Like if you look at it, like one of the main pillars of the Democrat Party crying racism was the Charlottesville hoax. The Charlottesville hoax is where they had Donald Trump. They had clipped a quote that said he was talking about very fine people, talking about white nationalists, KKK, and all this stuff. It was all bogus. That entire Charlottesville thing, we now are finding out, was funded by the SPLC. But we collectively as a country lived under this racism scare for 10 years. I'm a product of the 80s. People that grew up in the 80s, Gen Xers, we were the first generation after the civil rights movement. I was taught to treat everybody the same. Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, yellow, whatever, you're a person. You judge that person on the content of their character. I think, quite frankly, we had moved beyond a lot of this stuff. And I think, quite frankly, it was reintroduced. It was packaged new racism. It was reintroduced in 2008. And then I think you saw it weaponized in the law by places like the SPLC. And of course, charlatans like Al Sharpton. There's all these people that use race to accomplish their own ends. And a lot of those people, like if you look like Black Lives Matter, that's a Marxist entity. So they're not using it because it's the same as so many things. They're not using racism because they really want to eradicate racism. They find utility in using it as a cudgel against their political opponents. But basically everything we dealt with for the last, let's just call it 18 years, as far as race goes, it was all manufactured crisis. It was manufactured hate. But that entire sequence of events, with all the race baiting that went on in US society, that's just incredibly damaging to our psyche. But if you look at it legally, this SPLC thing is a huge get for the DOJ and Todd Blanche. So that's number one. That is a massive, massive deal. The next thing is Anthony Fauci's pal, and that would be Dr. David Morenz. And this one is my favorite. Dr. David Morenz was arrested the other day. This man bragged in emails about destroying evidence. He destroyed emails. He destroyed paperwork. He destroyed evidence of what? Of the lab leak. He destroyed evidence that COVID came from a lab. This man, Tony Fauci, all of these guys, they knew that COVID came from a lab right away. Morenz bragged about destroying his records and emails to friends, that he was avoiding transparency. This scumbag was arrested and charged. What was he arrested and charged for? Conspiracy and destruction of public records. The thing that's interesting about Morenz is the first official out of the COVID era to be arrested. And the other thing that I love about this is how close Morenz is to Fauci. Morenz is one footstep away from Fauci. He is real close. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about Tony Fauci, and I'm going to be watching this like a hawk. I think a lot of people are. Fauci has an auto pen pardon, and I've talked about it on the show. Still waiting on the legality of an auto pen pardon or an appointment or whatever, but I want Fauci real bad. And quite frankly, I think anybody, Republican or Democrat, should want to understand more about what happened in COVID. We had more Americans die in COVID than World War II, and the principal actor in this is Anthony Fauci, and somehow he has a pardon that goes back to 2014. And if anybody, Republican or Democrat, liberal, conservative, can tell me why Anthony Fauci needed a pardon that goes specifically back to 2014, I would love to hear why. Why? What happened in 2014 is the question. That's very, very specific. It's also very, very odd. Again, this is just a hanging chad of logic that doesn't make any sense. In this business of like Tony Fauci is this persecuted hero, stop with all that. Morenz knew that they were concealing data about the lab leak. These guys sat here in front of the American public and boldly lied for years. Morenz is this close, but please, please, baby Jesus, give me Fauci. I could sleep a lot easier if I know Tony Fauci's in a 6 by 6 foot cell. And I guess the next thing about this that Todd Blanche dropped is this Somalian daycares business. If you weren't watching, there were massive raids, massive waves of arrest in Minnesota just this week. Great. Lock them up. Better yet, ship them out. But to be fair, I think anybody that's been paying attention to what happened in Minnesota has been expecting that. And what do I do at the Foggy Dew? Always watch the response. The best part of this entire situation in Minnesota is the response. Here is Tim Walz. Every time I think about Tim Walz, I think about like a clown, like doing a cartwheel in a circus and honking his nose. Here's Tim Walz. This guy, this is so tone deaf. Here's Tim Walz. This is on X on Tuesday, right when all this news broke about the raids. Quote, if you commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to get caught. And that's exactly what we saw today. We catch criminals when state and federal agencies share information. Joint investigations work and securing justice depends on it. End quote. Dude. This guy was a VP candidate. He quit politics over this issue. He quit politics over this whole Minnesota fraud scandal, and now he's Johnny Accountability. This guy's a total failure. They should charge him with stolen valor. And to be completely clear, this is the man that oversaw this circus. This was the lead barker in the circus that was the Minnesota fraud. This man failed the state of Minnesota demonstrably. He bilked the taxpayers for billions and billions of dollars. And the thing you got to think about, this is the guy that Kamala Harris wanted. This is the guy that survived the vetting of the Democrat Party to become the VP candidate in 2024 that could code talk to white straight men. I mean, are you kidding? It gets better. Always watch the response. So the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota is a guy named Keith Ellison, who's a major league scumbag. Here's Keith Ellison. This is a statement that he put out, kind of in conjunction with Johnny Accountability Walz. Here's AG Ellison. This morning, in conjunction with agents from the FBI and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and Office of the OIG, investigators from the Minnesota Medicaid Fraud Center Unit executed federal search warrants at 5 separate sites of Medicaid-funded agencies claiming to provide early intervention, developmental, and behavioral intervention services. These efforts are yet another example of my Medicaid fraud control unit's ongoing collaboration with federal law enforcement in our shared mission to hold these who defraud Minnesota's Medicaid program accountable. End quote. This man should be disbarred. Another example. What's the first example? Another example of my collaboration with federal law. This guy's been demonstrably trying to block federal law enforcement from getting into the state. This guy was the AG when all this fraud occurred. This man sat on committees. He had access to all this information and did absolutely nothing because it was politically expedient to him. He was the top law enforcement officer in Minnesota. I mean, with cops like that, who needs robbers? He's a total failure. Keith Ellison and Tim Walz presided over a structured crime ring. They did nothing. They've probably facilitated it. And these are Democrat heroes. Again, always watch the response because it tells you everything. So I guess my final one here is James Comey, Jimmy Comey. Well, on Tuesday, James Comey was indicted a second time. And as exciting as that news is, I'm going to be completely transparent. It's a thin charge. That charge is real thin. Very thin. What they did is they bagged this guy on his 8647 seashell post that he put out in the lead up to the 2024 election. Now, okay, but Blanche is saying that this was a threat of harm on the president of the United States. That's thin. Let's be honest, it's thin. And what this truly is, what this indictment is, I think we're going to figure that out, because I don't think that this is the real objective. We're going to see it play out. Blanche has got to know that's weak. He's got to know that. He has to. So I guess the question is, why would he do it if he knows it's weak? Because I think constitutionally you can say that. I think that there's a constitutional issue there that Comey's protected. But I guess, again, the question is, why would Blanche do this? Why would he go down that road? And my guess is that it's part of a larger part that he's trying to play out. Don't forget that Comey was subpoenaed in that Florida grand jury thing. Well, guess what? I talked about it last week. John Brennan, who's another major league scumbag, is dealing with the Florida grand jury right now. And Brennan is knee-deep in Florida. And if you look at Brennan and you look at Comey, those guys were two of the principal actors in the Russiagate scandal. And my guess is if you're asking me today, the seashell post thing, the indictment here, is a legal lien that the administration is putting on Comey. And I shouldn't say the administration, say the Department of Justice. This is a pressure on Jim Comey. And it's not just a pressure legally, it's a pressure in the public sphere. This man is yet again forced to issue a rebuttal. And I watched the video. He did not seem as defiant as he did the first time. The first time he seemed real defiant. This time he looked like a Stockholm Syndrome person. And I guess my question is, and the thing that I would ask you to think about, is the DOJ doing this to try to pressure him? To flip him? Is this being used to crack open a larger case? They call an action like this in the law, in prosecution terms, they call it a holding charge. And if I had to guess, looking at this and understanding how thin this is, and as a free speech absolutist, this looks to me like a legal maneuver. That's what my guess is. This is a legal maneuver. Because I'm telling you right now, if you want real accountability, all eyes on Florida. Florida is where the action is. And I guess I talked about public sphere. I would urge you to think about that as well with this Comey thing. This whole second indictment preps the public. It stretches people's brain. It gets people's brains adjusted. People are now watching James Comey in legal hot water. It preps you mentally. So again, I kind of look at this whole scope of this deal. I think all the groundwork was laid by Pam Bondi. I think she cleared the floor, laid the foundation. She laid it for serious charges in the future. Kash Patel's been talking too. I talked about what he said earlier, but he also spoke at this press conference when they were talking about these James Comey charges. Kash Patel said that the case on Comey had been extensive, that they took 9, 10, 11 months because they wanted it to be airtight. And if you're asking me, 9, 10, 11 months on a post about seashells, that's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. But what I would tell you is 9, 10, 11 months on a grand conspiracy charge for James Comey and Brennan down in Florida, that's worth your time. But this seashells thing, I mean, come on. Just if you look at his action with the seashells, this James Comey was the head of the FBI. This guy was one of the most ruthless FBI people ever. And he's that careless on this 8647 deal. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing, but guess what? He didn't think he'd get called out. James Comey thinks he's above the law. That's why anyone in this Russiagate thing even did this stuff, because they thought they were untouchable, that they could do whatever they wanted. It's the arrogance, I think, that galls most normal people. It's like me seeing James Comey in his Kamala Walls gear in the lead up to the 2024 election, and I'm supposed to believe that this guy's some kind of balls and strikes arbiter of law. He's wearing his jersey in the public sphere. It's gross. And the last thing that I would urge you to consider about this entire situation is I would think about this. A lot of people in the Democrat Party are now promising retribution. They're swearing it. Meaning retribution if they get back in power. They are threatening lawmakers. They're threatening Trump. They're threatening our military members. They're threatening ICE agents. Democrats and the Democrat Party are promising that when or if they retake power, they're going to attack people legally, to go after them. So what I would urge you to think about through that lens is that the people bringing these charges against guys like Comey, Clapper, Brennan, etc., guys like Todd Blanche, Patel, Bondi, all those people now, Blanche, Patel, Bondi, whoever, those people are putting themselves at terrible risk at retribution, a very terrible risk. These people, Patel, Blanche, etc., these people are absolutely 1,000% exposing themselves to political retribution. If they get this wrong, they're facing incarceration, private lawsuits. It's just like Trump. It's just like Trump. If the Democrat Party takes back power in the next cycle, Donald Trump and his family will be bankrupted and jailed. And to be fair, it's no different than these people like Blanche and Patel. They're not stupid people. They know this. So if they're going to go ahead and do this, it better be airtight. I guess it's like they say, if you're going to go for the king, you better not miss. You better be wired tight. And I think they are, man. I think they took their time. And this is, everybody wanted to arrest right away. That's not how it works. And if you're asking me, sitting here today, watching this thing play out, I think they got Comey, Clapper, Brennan. I think they got them stone cold. Because if they miss, they got real trouble. Anyway, all four of these things are just massive moves. I think we are just creeping back to normality. We're creeping back. Again, it's so funny. Here we are over the weekend, another assassination attempt. And then just a couple, it's a news cycle. It's a new boom, 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 boom. But what happened on Tuesday are just a series of huge moves, and hopefully people that think nothing's happening are mollified. And I guess the people that just want to arrest everyone right now either want a dictator or I guess they don't understand the law. They don't understand. Because quite frankly, as a person that wants accountability, I don't want the Alvin Bragg or Letitia James model, the shotgun law approach where you throw out 91 felonies and see what sticks. Get it right, and I think that that's what these people have been doing. But I guess we'll all be watching it, man. Fun stuff. So switching gears, I wanted to talk about something else that I saw in the news. And I guess I'm just going to preface this by saying that I think anybody who listens to Foggy Dew knows that George Orwell was a genius. He was a total genius. His magnum opus, the novel 1984, paints a dystopian future. It's a future where Big Brother is always watching. From every screen, Big Brother observed. Even thought was monitored in 1984. People could be arrested for a thought crime. Orwell painted a future where the state controlled everything. And 1984, to be fair, is probably my favorite book. But I guess just based on my own observations of reality, it doesn't appear to me that anybody in our government has read it. And why would that be? Because a new automobile law, an automobile law dropped the other day. This is insane to me. What just came out of DC is that every car manufactured after 2027 must have tech in it. And not tech like power windows or built-in GPS, not that kind of tech. Every new car after 2027 must have an AI companion in it. That AI companion will monitor you. It will provide constant surveillance on the driver. So, to be clear, AI is now going to be monitoring you while you drive. And why would that be exactly? Because offhand, that looks like a violation of my Fourth Amendment right. This law was positioned by our ridiculous politician class. This law was positioned to try to prevent drunk driving. That's how it was packaged and sold. Well, guess what? The AI, in their estimation, is going to determine whether or not you're sober. So the AI companion is going to monitor you for sobriety. And if the AI determines that you're a little bit tipsy, the car shuts off. So it's a remote kill switch. So the AI is going to determine that itself. There's no judge, there's no jury. An AI is going to shut your car off, and our government allowed it. So all cars, to be clear, after 2027 are going to have an AI kill switch in them. They could shut you off on the side of the road. They could shut you off in a bad neighborhood. Again, it's always a creep. The narrow reasoning is drunk driving. That's the poison pill here. That's how it's packaged. It's a very sweet idea, like so many things. It's a very sweet idea with horrible downstream implications. And I guess the question is, or you might be curious, who exactly passed this? Who thought this in our government? Who thought this was a good idea? And I guess you might ask yourself, well, certainly it's not Republicans, right? Republicans certainly aren't this stupid. It must just be nanny state Democrats, right? Wrong. 57 Republican scumbags voted with 211 Democrats, to pass this Orwellian demon. And I guess first off, just primary every single one of these Republicans, get them out of here. They're a total joke. Get them all out. That's the opposition to a bill like this. How in the world could an AI kill switch be a conservative position? And I guess with friends like these, who needs enemies? Republicans, I've said it before on the show, Republicans are by far worse than Democrats because they're intellectual liars. The train of logic here is totally profound. How many times do we need to do something like this? Something is introduced into the legislature, and it just absolutely blows past the initial sale. It's just like this. Hey, we just need 2 weeks to slow the spread. Sound familiar? 2 weeks became double bagging masks, became 2 extra boosters, turned into 2 years in battles at the school boards. We just need 2 weeks to slow the spread. And the way they always position it, it's for your safety. We care about you. We're the government. We just need an AI companion. Nobody wants anybody to die drunk driving, do they? Of course not. They always sell it as for your safety. Look no further than the Patriot Act. Look at the Patriot Act after the 9/11. You'll be so safe if we pass the Patriot Act. Nobody will fly a plane into a building. If DHS monitors all of your communication, reads all of your emails, violates all of your rights, we will finally be safe. Trading your rights for the illusion of safety is the hallmark of a doomed society. Safety is the sugar. We will be so safe. Just give us your rights. Newsflash, freedom isn't safe. Never was. Never was. Freedom is not safe. There's no guarantee of safety. And I looked at this too, just thinking about this. It's almost to me like red light cameras. It's the state enforcing laws by electrical proxy, by remote. And this whole thing is going to be litigated because I don't think constitutionally this can stand. There are a lot of serious privacy questions here. I mentioned the Fourth Amendment. Because you have the right to your possessions, your papers, you have a right to your privacy. Because if AI monitors you in one vein, then its functions can easily go beyond that. It's not going to stay in its narrow definition of drunk driving. And that functionality is the real problem. It's function creep. It's like war or any other thing. Today it's drunk driving. Today it's drunk driving. Tomorrow it's listening in on your conversations. And I guess next week it'll tell teenagers to stop necking in the park. It's like so many things the government does. It's always this reasonable, thoughtful start. You place the seed, and then you just explode it. And again, here's a hypothetical for you. Say a Democrat administration wants to stop the opposition in some way. If you're an enemy of the state, they can just kill the car. The AI might be able to check your status. What if it sees you're delinquent on your insurance? That's a great example. You're delinquent on your insurance, click. Oh, you're not taking all your vaccines, click. You got 2 people in the car who aren't wearing masks, click. A totalitarian regime like you saw in 1984 can put people on a list and go click. The infrastructure is built, the highway is built, the justification is the thing that changes. This is a lot like digital ID to me, an implanted chip, digital currency. Oh, you do the Foggy Dew, you speak out against the regime, click, they turn you off. Oh, you bought a gun, click, you're an enemy of the state. You're a dangerous white man. My fear with all this stuff, and I think that this is just how technology is going, how AI is going, I don't think we're going to need jails in the future. If you read sci-fi or think about these things from a logical progression, you're not going to need a physical jail. The cage is going to be built for you already. All the warden needs to do is remotely turn you off. It's an electrical proxy of litigating law. And quite frankly, I have these discussions because I'm a pro Second Amendment guy. This is exactly how gun confiscation is really going to work. It's not like going to be Canada where they're going door to door. If they decide, the regime decides that, hey, we're going to outlaw guns. If you have a registered firearm, you're going to be required legally to forfeit it. They don't need to come to your house to take your firearms. They can just turn you off. If you don't turn over your firearms to the local sheriff, click. I mentioned Canada. They're not going to need to go to your door. They can turn you off. They can do it from an office building in DC. If you have access to digital control like this, they can cut off your credit. They can cut off your car. They can cut off your life. That's exactly what they do in communist China. It's a surveillance state. But compliance is then forced by AI. Again, it's creep. This is a bad idea on steroids. And to me, like I mentioned, central bank digital currency or like online credit. That's the line. You cannot have a digital currency. You have to be able to buy things in cash. The minute that you let the government and AI manage your transactions, you just gave away all your privacy. They can monitor absolutely everything at that point. And again, I guess political science part, look at Republicans. These people are just totally worthless. It's like the inversion of the SAVE Act. I mean, I bet if I went out and asked 100 conservatives, maybe 5% of conservatives want AI kill switches. 95% of people that are conservatives would not want an AI kill switch in their car. Inverted, 95% of conservatives would want the SAVE Act. It's almost like a barter. I'll see your SAVE Act and raise you 24/7, 365 surveillance. I always laugh when I see stuff like this. It's the politicians. They can't do photo ID required to vote, but they can do AI ID to drive a vehicle. That's just great. We really need some kind of like French Revolution style deal here. These politicians are hilarious. The logic just is so, and people put up with this as a thing that blows my mind. These politicians are absolutely hilarious. They will sit there and tell you a non sequitur to your face. They'll go on Fox News and just puke out a non sequitur and people keep buying it. And again, my favorite, if China invades Taiwan, we will attack China. That's an interesting premise because what country sells us 20% of our imported goods? China. So we're going to attack our benefactor? How interesting. How will that work exactly? How will we strike our benefactor? And it's no different here with this AI kill switch. They want to tell you, the government, Republican, Democrat, they want to tell you, the law-abiding taxpayer, that you must be AI surveilled. You must be AI surveilled, but we're going to go ahead and let in 30 million illegals. And we just can't figure that out. And it's so interesting to me because it was so subtle. When you go to an airport now, they take your photo at TSA. The government can track absolutely everything that you do. But somehow we let 30 million illegals across the border and we have no idea where any of the money goes. These illegals that came across the border get free healthcare, food, money, lodging. We can't figure that out. Republicans, Democrats can't get to the bottom of that. They can't come together and protect the citizenry. They can't stop the illegal invasion. They can't curtail that expense. But you, the law-abiding taxpayer that's paying their salary, you need AI in your car. These people, they're all scumbags, right and left, man. They lie all day to everyone. You could drive a truck through that logic. And people just sit there and look at their TV and just nod along. Yep, These people view the citizen as a battery for the state. Illegals are just fresh batteries to them. They create a problem and then they provide a solution. The only thing they need is more money and your support. And I guess congratulations, George Orwell, you're the man. I just, again, AI kill switches in cars. That's just perfect. And we can't get the SAVE Act across the line. Unbelievable. So switching gears, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up with kind of a fun story. I'm always really interested in kind of odd military stories. And there's a good one that I've been sitting on about a guy named John Clem. And that's C-L-E-M. And I guess your question is, who was John Clem? Well, Clem was born in Ohio in 1851, and his mother was actually killed by a train. So Clem's mother, I don't mean to laugh, but Clem's mother was killed by a train. So this child runs away at the age of 9. Well, when Clem was 9, it was 1860, and the Civil War was kicking off. So Clem runs off at 9-year-old. He runs off and tries to enlist. He tries to enlist at the age of 9 in the Ohio 3rd, and he's obviously rejected. He's a boy. Well, this kid he's no quitter. He then tries to enlist with the 22nd Michigan. The 22nd Michigan rejects him also. Well, so they say, hey, kid, you got to get out of here. Well, what Clem did is he kind of just hanged around. He's hanging around. He won't go away. So when the 22nd would move, he would end up following, kind of like tagging along. Well, the men of the 22nd see this kid and they start feeding him. They start kind of treating him like a mascot. Like, hey, this kid isn't all that bad. Just 9-year-old dirty kid. Well, this Clem kid becomes a mascot and the 22nd's drummer boy. He's such a part of this regiment now that officers and men of the 22nd, they chipped in to pay him. So Clem, the kid, is officially enlisted. He's mustered in at the age of 11. So by 1863, when the Civil War is hot and heavy, he's 12 years old and with the 22nd at Chickamauga. So here's Clem at 12 years old at a Civil War battle. This kid was carrying a gun at this point. He carried a trimmed musket. Now, Chickamauga was a huge battle, and that battle actually saw the highest Union losses behind Gettysburg. This is not some like little engagement. And the battle did not go well for the Union. And what occurred is that the Union went in full retreat on the field of battle. So here's Clem. He's retreating with the 22nd. Well, a Confederate colonel rides up to Clem. He's on a horse. So on his horse, the Confederate colonel demands that Clem surrender. Clem shoots and kills this man. He blows him off his horse. So this kid is now a Union legend. He just smoked a Confederate colonel off a horse, blew him off the horse. Newspapers picked up on this story. Newspapers called Clem the drummer boy of Chickamauga. He was promoted at the age of 12 to sergeant. He then became the youngest U.S. soldier ever to be a non-commissioned officer. Well, if you fast forward a little bit, later that year in 1863, he was captured in Georgia. Clem was used for propaganda purposes by the Confederacy. What they would do is say, look, the Union's in bad shape. They got kids fighting for them. So he's used as a propaganda piece, but then he's eventually released in a prisoner exchange. The Confederate Army kept this kid's uniform, and it made Clem so upset. His colors were taken. He was all in on the Union cause. Well, so Clem gets released and he goes back to battle. This kid was wounded twice in the war. In 1864, this kid was discharged from service at the age of 13. This is a wounded veteran at this point. Clem graduated high school in 1870. Well, after he graduated high school, Ulysses S. Grant appointed him second lieutenant in the 24th Infantry. At that point, Clem went to artillery school. He was promoted to captain as a quartermaster. Clem made major as a quartermaster in the Spanish-American War, and by 1903, Clem was a colonel. Well, by 1915, Clem reached mandatory retirement age at 64. When Clem reached retirement age, he was promoted to brigadier general. So Clem, the drummer boy of Chickamauga, retired as a brigadier general. And the funny thing about it is, in retirement, he got another bump. He got another bump in rank. Clem's full retirement was major general. So this man went from tagging along with the 22nd Michigan, becoming a drummer boy, to full retirement as a major general. General Clem died in 1937, aged 85. Clem is buried in Arlington. And I guess kind of a crazy story and not bad for a 9-year-old runaway. Fought in the Civil War, injured twice at the age of 13, and he obviously blew a Confederate colonel off his horse. But I guess thank you to this patriot. Thank you to John Clem. Okay, guys, I'll go ahead and wrap up the 100th episode. Again, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. You guys are all awesome. I appreciate the feedback, appreciate the love. And we're just going to keep rolling along, okay? So if you like the show, please go ahead and tell a friend about it. If you would, please follow us on Spotify. You can also follow us on Instagram at Foggy Dew Daily. If you have any questions for the show, please go ahead and email us at foggydew95@gmail.com. But in the meantime, gang, I'd ask you to say a prayer, ask questions, and stay vigilant. This is the Foggy Dew, signing off.